All right, we're diving back into Legacy with our part 3 of the Legacy meta, and this one is going to be focused on combo decks. Now, we've talked about the Fantasticar and what it's doing in Modern. If you want to see more about that stuff, check out our first episode. Of course, we dived into some more of the creature decks and aggro decks in episode 2, and this one's going to be more focused on combo strategies in Legacy. So let's dive into it and take a look at our Mox field and what these decks can do. Let's dive into our combo decks. Again, we're not showcasing every single deck in Legacy, but we're just trying to highlight as many as we can that got showcased on the Four Seasons event. So let's talk a little bit about show and tell, shall we? The idea of the deck is you're going to be sneaking scary creatures into play, utilizing the card show and tell and sneak attack, hence the sneak and show name of the deck. So the idea is you're going to be paying 3 mana to be able to have both players pick a card from their hand, whether it's a artifact, creature, enchantment, or land, and they get to put it onto the battlefield. They happen like simultaneously. You put them face down, and then you reveal them. The sneak attack does very similar, but your idea is to be paying 1 red and then put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That creature gains haste, and you sack it. Now, the creatures that we're putting in is going to usually be our Traxa to help refill our hand, get more resources back, or we're trying to end the game with a big old Emrakul. Right, definitely a way to be able to sneak in and end the game. Now, there are other things we can sneak in off the show and tell. In this case, the Omnipotence here. So we basically get to cast everything for free. And we have a lot of ways to refill our hand. Things like Stock Up, Brainstorm, Ponder, right? We're going to be able to refill and go from there. But the idea is it is a very fast-paced combo deck that is set up to sort of like get in. It is able to be disrupted. That's why you see a lot of protection here. Force of Will, Spell Pierce, even the Flusterstorm in here is designed to sit here and make sure that our scary stuff is able to resolve, get onto the battlefield, and win the game. Now, Atraxa doesn't guarantee the win right away, off the show and tell there, but if we're able to show and tell and get out our enchantment, then that basically is going to help set us up for success, where we can be able to cast an Emrakul off the top and go from there. Now, there are a couple different variations of it. There are flex spots within the list, but this is a good way to think about what the deck is trying to do. It is a glass cannon all-in style of deck, but it is very, very powerful, hence the combo side of it. So if you're not going to be just cheating things from your hand, let's dive in and see how you might cheat things from your graveyard. Blue-black Reanimator. I know you might think about it as like, is Reanimator still like the top dog? It's really powerful. It has kind of ebbed and flowed, especially with Entomb going away. But here's the kind of breakdown of the list. There's a couple different variations on how you want to go for your kind of flex big fatty here. We've got the Valgoth Terror Eater here. So that is one way to go about it. I've seen some Raph and Mikey's in lists as well for Legacy to kind of do some different shenanigans. But Atraxa was in the show and tell list. Atraxa is in our reanimation list because it's just such a powerful card. It does all the things we want to do, refills our hand after we go about it. The lifelink is really, really useful because Reanimate does chunk our life to be able to cast it. We're going to be putting a creature from our graveyard onto the battlefield, but we lose life equal to its converted mana cost. So that's why this is a very expensive creature, 9 life to be able to do it, but it is a 9/9 with flying and lifelink and a ward, so it's a little bit more protected, so I like that idea. Of course, Archon of Cruelty is another big, powerful one. A little bit of disruption makes our opponent discard a card. We draw a card. They lose 3 life. We gain 3 life. They have to sacrifice a creature. That's not only ETB, but that also counts when we are attacking. So very, very powerful. The idea is to be able to get one of these 7 creatures into the graveyard and be able to cast Reanimate or Animate Dead to bring it back. So you've got things like Careful Study, right, to help throw things in the graveyard. We've got things like Bone Shards. We've got things like Indulgence to be able to throw things into our graveyard. Thoughtseize is both, right? You could be able to Thoughtseize yourself to put a fatty in there. You can Thoughtseize your opponent. More likely than not, we're going to be Thoughtseizing our opponent and kind of making sure we're stripping away their stuff that they're going to use to try to stop us. But we have protection in a way because we are running Daze or running Force of Will to kind of make sure this happens. We can kind of speed things up a little bit utilizing Lotus Petals, but it is not just like an immediate, hey, Entomb, go, right? We have to do a little bit more setup here, but you have Surveil Lands to help you set up. We got to see that on camera where you're just like, Undercity Sewers, bin this fatty, untap, cast it from my graveyard, essentially. Bring it back with Reanimate or Animate Dead there. So Very cool, very powerful. Of course, your sideboard is a little bit more of that pivot plan, and you go into a show and tell style of package where you're trying to go for my graveyard and fight my graveyard. Well, I'll just pivot, and now I have a show and tell. What do you say about that? How can you deal with it that way? So very cool, a little bit of combo focus style of I'm going to be cheating out things that I shouldn't be and going to try to win the game that way. So let's go take a look at some of our other lists that we've got for you that are combo. Doomsday pile here, the Doomsday combo deck that exists in Legacy. The whole idea is to resolve a Doomsday, and you basically go get rid of everything that you've got except for like the top 5 cards of your library. You get to pick what the 5 cards are. So you go through and you're like, I'm going to win with Thassa's Oracle. That's my plan. I'm going to find a way to be able to bring it back. I'm going to find a way to cheat it into play. I'm going to cast it whatever way. The idea is get Thassa's Oracle into play, win the game because I've set myself up. And everybody else's job is to try to stop the Doomsday from resolving and stop the Thassa's Oracle from being able to get basically onto the battlefield. Because the ETB is the whole thing, right? Enters the battlefield, trigger goes off. So it's going to be setting itself up for success. It's going to be trying to disrupt you. It's going to try to accelerate this game plan. And then a lot of the cards that it kind of sets itself up with to do this are these protection spells. I'll run my Force of Wills. I'll run my Dazes. I'll set myself up to make sure that I can be able to go off and resolve the things that I need to resolve, which is all about getting this Thassa's Oracle onto the battlefield here. Flow states, ponders, right? You can do some setup turns, you can do some Tameo, and then you have this sort of like pivot game plan almost into this Murktide. That's like your plan B. Well, I've tried to do this sort of stuff. Here's a big fatty, right? And I can sort of just put the pressure on you that way and sort of go that route here. But it is a fast deck. It is very, very focused on the combo. We see Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal, and you're trying to go fast as possible to be able to set yourself up there. So very cool to be able to see lots of ways that you can kind of fight over it and disrupt it, but it is all about the Doomsday resolving, Thassa's Oracle win. So those are the 2 key pieces when you are fighting against the deck, and those are the kind of moments that you need to be able to fight over and disrupt the best that you can. So let's go over, and there's a couple more combo decks to highlight. I mean, it wouldn't be a combo video without talking about Storm, right? Storm is a little bit different in Legacy compared to Modern, so I figured it would be a good one to highlight because we get access to Tendrils of Agony. Target player loses 2 life, you gain 2 life, and it has Storm. Does cost 4, so it's a little bit more expensive, but this is less that we need to be able to storm off to get you here. So the idea of it is still the same. I'm going to be able to build my storm count high enough through these types of spells that I've got, through these extra mana spells, through these wish spells. So of course we've got like Dark Ritual in here. We've got ways to kind of tutor up things. We've got ways to disrupt, duress, Thoughtseize, things like that. We've got a bunch of artifacts to help us, right? The idea is it's very low to the ground and there's 0 cost artifacts help build up our storm count. So we've got, of course, Chrome Mox, Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal, Mox Opal there, and then some tutor stuff we talked about, Wishclaw Talisman, Burning Wish, even Ad Nauseam here to sort of just start stripping away cards off the top that we're going to be able to add to our hand to kind of help us storm off. And even these 0 cost stuff that we've got, Gaia's Will help us play them again, right? We can play with our graveyard a little bit, Infernal Tutor, that whole Hellbent stuff, be able to tutor up for a very specific card. So yeah, very, very nice to be able to see that, Storm still exists in Modern, or not Modern, in Legacy here. And the idea of it is, again, very fast, very combo oriented. You see sort of the way that it is set up here. Even's got some more tools in the sideboard that I can be able to tutor up for to help it win off that Burning Wish. But there are points that you need to be worried about, right? You have to stop them during some of those tutor points where they're trying to find tools that they can be able to utilize in order to get them to the win. All right, if they're spinning their wheels, same sort of thing like when you see it in Modern. All right, the way that they're sort of trying to exile cards off the top, how they're trying to set themselves up to combo, you've got to start finding those spots and attack those moments. But if you wait to the point that they're casting Tendrils, game's over already. So there's our Legacy Storm. Again, very quick breakdown for it. Not too much for the sideboard. A couple more. We got 2 more that we're going to highlight. And then, of course, if there's a deck that we haven't highlighted, let us know. We'll see about highlighting it in a future video. But let's go into our Cephalid Breakfast next. All right, I wanted to highlight the Cephalid Breakfast stuff as one of our combo decks because I was, I piloted Nadu when it was running around. It's such a fun deck to pilot, but not a fun deck to be on the receiving end. So there was like a Nadu Cephalid Breakfast deck for a while before Nadu got banned, but Cephalid Breakfast existed before Nadu, and it exists after Nadu. So I figured it would be a good one to be able to highlight because the idea of it is similar to the idea of Nadu, is you're getting those triggers, and you're just sort of basically milling yourself, right? Again, why would you mill yourself? Because we're going to use this Thassa's Oracle to win. So our Cephalid Illusionist, whenever this becomes the target of a spell or ability, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. All right, we've got Narcomoebas that will be able to come back from the graveyard onto the battlefield. We've got our Nomads on core here. That's our kind of pay 0, redirect, pay 0, redirect, pay 0, boom, 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 boom. We're targeting our Cephalid, and we're constantly milling 3. You also, of course, have Shuko that you can do some swapping around and do it because your whole idea is to be able to fill your graveyard up, cast a Dread Return, or essentially bring back Thassa's Oracle and win. That's our game plan. We're doing what we can to make sure that happens. We've got some removal. We've got some protection. We've got some disruptions here. So like Force of Will is going to be really nice to help us make sure that our combo can be able to go off. We've got some setups with Ponder, Brainstorm, Flow State. It's another Flow State. Every time that I'm seeing Flow State and Spell Snare in a list, I'm, understanding that these players have been playing a lot more Legacy because they know how impactful 2-drops are right now in Legacy. So, this is kind of the name of the game again. If very similar to like the Doomsday stuff, but instead of being focused on just cast a spell and then I've set up for these 5 cards and that's it, it's more of, oh, I've assembled these like 2-card combo to just self-mill and now I'm going to win. Because you have to try to fight with this like Dread Return, but I can just keep utilizing the flashback. Right, unless you have a Force of Negation, then I'm real sad. But that's where our own forces come in, and it's Orm's Chance and things like that. So if you like this sort of like Nadu style deck, check out the Cephalid Breakfast one, and then let's highlight over our last little bit of combo. High Tide. Let's talk a little bit about High Tide. If you're not familiar with this, maybe you saw it in paper in the Pauper style of play, and now you're like, well, I kind of want to play it some more. Well, you can in Legacy, especially with all the blue that it gets access to. So until the end of turn, all islands produce an additional blue mana when they're tapped for mana. And the idea is you're going to be cycling through your deck quite a bit. We've got a couple of ways to do this here with Mind's Desire, shuffle your library, exile top cards of your library. You may play those cards without paying their mana costs. Of course, big storm off for that. And we've also got things like Time Spiral. Hey, let's both shuffle through things, and then I get to be able to draw 7 new cards. We have so much mana, we're able to kind of utilize it, especially with things like Turnabout here. Choose artifact, creatures, or land, tap all, untap permanents of the chosen type that player controls, untap all tap permanents of that type that players control. So this allows us to basically sit here and double up on our mana, recast it, double up, and just sort of go that route, right? That's your whole goal. And then once you get through things, we've got ways like Jace to be able to win the game. Instead of doing like the Thassa's Oracle, you can win through Jace. You could do Thassa's as well, right? That is one way to be able to go about it here. But because we're generating so much mana, it's easier to be able to set ourselves up this way. And then you can kind of do a little bit more of the draw effects and things like that. So you're setting yourself up. Merchant Scrolls, Ponders, Brainstorming here. We've got protection and disruption through Force of Will, Pact Negation, Sink into Stupor to kind of get ourselves to the best state possible and even Flow State, of course, is that part of that best state possible here to kind of set ourselves up, dress down to help protect us a little bit here, stop our opponent from doing things with their creatures. And it's, as you can see, 8 islands, right? Relatively, I'd say it's, again, a little bit more on the cheaper side if you wanted to go into the combo, but definitely something fun to be able to kind of sit here and do almost like a Storm deck with yourself here, right? Similar to kind of our other Storm deck that we saw, the Saga Storm there. So a bunch of different decks to showcase. There are many decks in Legacy. We have not talked about all of them. Look, I got a whole file here with 32 different decks. We wanted to kind of highlight just a good snapshot of the stuff from the Four Seasons event. If there's a specific deck that you got to see maybe through this list, or maybe with us talking, that you're like, why didn't we highlight this one? Let us know in the comment. Also, if you want to hear more about the sideboard side of things, or talk a little bit more in depth about Legacy, because this was a very quick surface level, try to spend 2 to 5 minutes basically discussing what each of the decks are trying to do, how they're going about it, what is their kind of game plan, then maybe you can let me know and we can do a deeper dive into the Legacy format, because we're getting ready to show more Legacy gameplay here on the channel. But that's going to do it for us here today. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching, y'all, and I'll see you all next game.